In our current times, one cannot assert that we lack ideals. Quite the contrary, there are numerous ideals present, yet they often lack practicality. Picture this peculiar scenario. Envision a hen on the verge of hatching a chick. Now, let's deviate a bit from the norm. Imagine taking the egg away and hatching it in a vacuum under the influence of an air pump. Would the emerging chick thrive in such an environment? All the evolutionary factors are there, except for one crucial element, somewhere for the chick to thrive under the necessary life conditions. This analogy mirrors the state of the lofty ideals frequently discussed in today's discourse. These ideals possess undeniable beauty and value, but contemporary individuals seem hesitant to confront the realities of evolution, a demand of our era. Consequently, we witness the emergence of peculiar societies advocating diverse ideals, yet these lofty aspirations often lead to naught. The early 20th century saw the birth of numerous idealistic societies, but the subsequent years failed to translate those ideals into reality. There's a lesson to be gleaned from this, a point emphasized in these lectures. Last Sunday, I illustrated a diagram outlining the spiritual development of recent decades. It's essential to recognize that events in the physical world have spiritual antecedents. Specifically, I referred to a concrete spiritual battle that unfolded above our realm in the 1840s, echoing the symbolic struggle of St. Michael against the dragon. This battle persisted until November 1879, culminating in Michael's victory, casting the Ahrimanic powers, the dragon, into the human sphere. Now, where do these powers reside? Consider this carefully. The forces of Ahriman, engaged in a decisive spiritual battle between 1841 and 1879, descended into the human realm in 1879. Since then, their stronghold, their sphere of influence, resides within the thoughts, inner responses, and will impulses of human beings, particularly in the current epoch. In the thoughts prevailing in human minds today, there's a pervasive influence of Ahrimanic powers. These forces extend their sway over countless thoughts, will impulses, and inner responses. The interplay between the spiritual and physical realms forms an integral part of the grand tapestry of existence, an array of concrete facts demanding recognition. Delving into abstract notions, repeatedly proclaiming that human beings must fight Ahriman, proves futile. The current era finds some individuals utterly oblivious to the atmospheric presence of spirits, a facet requiring profound consideration. As a member of the Anthroposophical Society, one finds oneself in a unique position to be informed of these intricacies, engaging one's thoughts and feelings with their gravity. In the midst of the present era, fraught with mysteries, uncertainties, and confusion, individuals bear the responsibility to bring forth their finest emotions and inner responses. Consider this scenario. A small group of naturally bonded individuals, enlightened about the spiritual realities discussed, possesses a formidable advantage. Should they decide to harness the power derived from such knowledge, their influence, oftentimes unbeknownst to their followers, would far surpass those oblivious to these truths. An analogous group existed in the 18th century and endures to this day. Armed with knowledge of the events unfolding in the 19th and 20th centuries, this group strategically pursued its self-interests and worked towards specific objectives. Their actions, carried out with systematic precision, marked a deliberate course set in the 18th century, casting ripples through time. The masses of humanity navigate through life in a seemingly somnolent state, their thoughts dormant, unaware of the intricate dynamics at play within groups, even those in close proximity. Today, there's an undeniable inclination towards illusion, especially evident in the prevailing sentiment that modern communication brings people together. Many marvel at the effectiveness of these means, proclaiming that it's a departure from times past. However, a dispassionate examination of specific instances in the modern era reveals peculiar occurrences. Consider, for instance, the role of the press. In the latter half of the 19th century, as the press was evolving into its contemporary form, a literary work of profound significance emerged, Wilhelm Weber's Linden. Despite its epoch-making nature, surpassing the combined impact of well-known authors of the time, Linden remains relatively unknown to many today. It enjoyed wider readership than any other work in the last third of the 19th century, yet its obscurity in current discourse is palpable. This example serves to highlight the possibility, even today, for the masses to remain oblivious to groundbreaking developments occurring right in their midst. The barriers separating individuals prevent the dissemination of information, and important revelations often go undiscussed. Droysen Linden, a work laden with profoundly radical ideas and presented in poetic language, continues to resonate in the hearts and minds of thousands, despite its relative obscurity in broader conversations. This illustration, though a minor episode in world history, reflects a broader pattern. Major events unfold globally, yet many individuals fail to discern them clearly. The world is teeming with occurrences that escape the notice of a significant portion of the population, perpetuating a state where crucial matters are left unexplored in conversations among friends. In the 18th century, a society propagated certain views and ideas that took root in people's minds, effectively influencing societal aims. These ideas permeated the social sphere, shaping individuals' attitudes toward others. While many remain unaware of the sources influencing their emotions, inner responses, and will impulses, those versed in the processes of evolution comprehend how such impulses and emotions come into being. An example from the 18th century involves a society's publication, possibly not the book itself, but the underlying ideas. This work delved into the involvement of Ahriman, then termed the devil, in various animal species. Amid the age of enlightenment, clever individuals, some in the press, dismissed this notion, framing it as a joke, someone claiming animals were devils. However, the society strategically disseminated these ideas, ensuring they took root in numerous minds. This groundwork set the stage for the later emergence of Darwinism, fostering the idea that humans evolved from animals. Simultaneously, a considerable number clung to the notion that animals were devils. This peculiar accord had tangible effects, shaping the mindset of many during the 19th century. It is crucial to recognize that, akin to animals thriving in the presence of air, ideas and ideals can only flourish when individuals engage with the genuine atmosphere of spiritual life. This demands encountering spiritual life as a tangible reality. Presently, people exhibit a penchant for generalities, often failing to acknowledge the undeniable fact that since 1879, Ahrimanic powers descended from the spiritual world into the human realm. This descent necessitated penetrating human intellectuality, thinking, responses, and perceptions. Merely abstractly stating that these powers must be fought proves insufficient. True understanding requires acknowledging their existence and living with them, as closing our eyes to their presence only magnifies their potency. The Ahrimanic powers entrenched in human intellect become exceptionally formidable if we choose ignorance over understanding. The prevailing ideal for many is the pursuit of scientific knowledge and the application of scientific laws to the social realm. This inclination leans heavily towards the real, focusing on things perceptible by the senses while neglecting matters of the spirit. If this collective aspiration were to materialize, the Ahrimanic powers would achieve their goal, as people would remain oblivious to their existence. An establishment of a monistic religion, akin to Haeckel's materialistic monism, would create a perfect arena for the subtle workings of these powers. A state where people are ignorant of their presence allows the Ahrimanic powers to operate within the subconscious, furthering their influence. One means of assisting these powers is the establishment of an entirely naturalistic religion. If David Friedrich Strauss had fully realized his ideal of narrow-minded religion, as discussed by Nietzsche, the Ahrimanic powers would find an even more comfortable foothold. Another way these powers flourish is when people actively nurture elements like prejudice, ignorance, and a fear of spiritual life. There are individuals who, as their primary focus, foster these negative qualities, providing fertile ground for the Ahrimanic powers to thrive. Consider historical instances like the decrees against Copernicus, Galileo, and Kepler, which persisted until 1835. Until then, Catholics were prohibited from studying perspectives like the Copernican view. This active promotion of ignorance served as a substantial contribution to the Ahrimanic powers, offering them the opportunity to make thorough preparations for their subsequent campaign, starting in 1841. While a second statement follows the first, it remains undisclosed to the public for those genuinely initiated into these matters. Understanding the implications behind these words requires a deeper feeling, offering a glimpse into the undisclosed realm. The scientific viewpoint, inherently Ahrimanic, does not face opposition by ignoring or criticizing it out of ignorance. True resistance comes from conscious acknowledgement and understanding. Ignoring or criticizing scientific views without proper insight inadvertently aids Ahriman, contributing to the spread of illusion and confusion in a domain that should ideally be illuminated with clarity. The realization that everything possesses two sides is a gradual understanding that eludes many modern individuals. The prevailing notion among clever contemporaries often involves looking down upon ancient cultures, particularly those in the fourth post-Atlantean age, such as ancient Greece and Rome. These cultures, it is said, superstitiously believed in divining the future from the flight patterns of birds, the entrails of animals, and other seemingly irrational practices. However, the scornful modern critics lack true knowledge of how these predictions were made. A prevalent attitude persists, exemplified by individuals who acknowledge the accuracy of prophecies from dreams but attribute them to mere chance. During the fourth post-Atlantean age, conditions were such that a genuine science of the future existed. People of that time could not have envisioned the principles applied in contemporary social and political life. The profound perspectives gained by ancient societies, extending far beyond their own era, were rooted in a form of science foreseeing the future. Present achievements in the realms of social life and politics owe their foundations to the fruits of this ancient science of the future. However, this understanding cannot be gleaned through the observation of sensory phenomena or by employing the modern scientific approach. The modern method, centered on observing the external world with the senses, merely reveals past laws that continue to persist, a study of the corpse of a bygone world. Consider a diagrammatic representation of our field of observation. The yellow circle represents all discoverable scientific laws, which pertain not to the present but to what has already transpired, a solidified remnant of the past. To truly comprehend reality, one must look beyond these observable laws to elements hidden from the eyes and inaudible to physical ears, a second world governed by different laws, pointing towards the future. This hidden realm within reality holds the key to understanding the ongoing evolution of the universe. The world's situation parallels the growth of a plant. The visible plant we see today is not the complete reality. Within it, something mysterious resides, invisible but carrying the entire future, akin to the primitive germ. Similarly, the world we perceive with our eyes encapsulates the entirety of the future, though this aspect remains concealed. It also contains the past, now withered and dried, resembling a lifeless corpse. Naturalists scrutinize images of the past, observing things that have concluded and ceased to be. This past aspect, while absent when solely considering the spiritual dimension, must be integrated to comprehend the complete reality. It's perplexing how people endorse Laplace's theory while simultaneously entertaining notions about the world's end, as articulated by Professor Dewar. Dewar's vision involves people reading newspapers in sub-zero temperatures, using luminous protein on walls, and milk solidifying. The practicality of milking solid milk in such conditions raises questions. These ideas, much like Laplace's theory, crumble when one moves beyond immediate observation because they are essentially theories of lifeless entities, akin to corpses. In contemporary times, critics dismiss the ancient priests of Greece and Rome as either scoundrels or superstitious individuals. They find it incredulous that knowledge about the future could be gleaned from the flight of birds or the entrails of animals. However, as time progresses, future generations might view present-day ideas with a similar condescension. They may consider Laplace's theory and Dewar's predictions about the end of the world as strange superstitions. People in the past, they might say, observed a few millennia of Earth evolution and drew conclusions about the initial and final states of the Earth, a perspective dismissed as foolish superstition. The ridicule directed at ancient beliefs will be surpassed by future criticism of contemporary scientific theories, portraying them as more absurd than the methods of divination from sacrificial animals and bird flights in the past. Those who fully embrace the spirit and attitudes of scientific thinking often look condescendingly upon old myths and tales, viewing them as the products of a childish and primitive era. The prevailing sentiment is one of superiority, with a proclamation of how far humanity has progressed since those times. However, what eludes those with such perspectives is the foundational truth. Modern science, especially in its justified domains, owes its existence to the earlier realm of myth. Modern science has grown out of the myths of old, much like a plant with its roots, stems, leaves, and flowers. Critics, particularly those deemed clever professors, deride the mythologies of old and the ancient superstitions without realizing that their very intellect and cleverness have evolved from those myths. The elemental spirits from other worlds observe this with derisive howls, amused by the irony that the very minds dismissing myths have grown from them. The short-sighted belief that current scientific theories, such as those of Copernicus and Galileo, will endure unchanged forever, causes these elemental spirits to howl with derision. Ahrimanic powers find amusement in the confidence scientists place in the everlasting nature of their ideas. However, just as myth was overcome by the scientific ideas of the 19th and 20th centuries, these contemporary scientific ideas will also evolve. The views people hold about the solar system in 2900 will likely differ from the present, just as the mythology of ancient Greece has evolved into the current scientific understanding. This insight should not become a superstition among anthroposophists, as recognizing the dynamic nature of ideas is crucial. The justifiable ideas prevalent today, possessing a certain degree of greatness in the present time, have roots in the mythology of ancient Greece. While some may wish the ancient Greeks had access to modern science, such a scenario would have stifled the knowledge of Greek gods, the world of Homer, Sophocles, Aeschylus, Plato, and Aristotle. The vitality in contemporary thinking traces back to Greek and overall fourth post-Atlantean mythology. Dismissing mythology as wrong and modern thinking as right is akin to questioning the need to cut roses from bushes to form a bouquet, not recognizing that their existence is intertwined with a broader natural process. The individuals who perceive themselves as the most enlightened in our contemporary age harbour ideas that, from their perspective, might seem dreamlike or lacking clear definition. However, these seemingly nebulous thoughts have their roots in the evolution of thinking during the fourth post-Atlantean age, providing the foundation for our current state. The thoughts we cultivate today will, in turn, shape the basis for the succeeding age. Yet, for this progression to occur, our thoughts must not only move in the direction of withering and drying up, but also towards life. The breath of life enters our thinking when we consciously bring existing elements into our awareness and perceive the essence that fosters a vigilant mind. Since 1879, the prevailing situation is as follows. Individuals attend school, adopting scientific attitudes and thinking. Their life philosophy aligns with a scientific approach, accepting only what can be directly perceived as real, dismissing everything else as mere imagination. When people adopt this perspective, and a considerable number do so today, Ahriman gains the upper hand, and the Ahrimanic powers thrive. These Ahrimanic powers, establishing their strongholds in human minds since 1879, are not human entities. They are angels, but of a retrogressive kind, angels deviating from their proper evolutionary course, losing their ability to fulfill their rightful function in the adjacent spiritual world. If they had adhered to their proper course, they wouldn't have been cast down in 1879. Now, seeking to execute their function, they delve into human brains, operating one level lower than their intended position. The prevalent monistic thinking, often associated with the science of economics, is not purely human. Even when scientists proclaim forecasts, like the claim that a war would last only 4 months, these thoughts are not merely human, but reflections of angels who have taken residence in human minds. the human intellect is gradually being assimilated by these powers, aiming to manifest their own existence. We cannot counter this influence by avoiding awareness, akin to ostriches burying their heads in the sand. The only effective response is conscious engagement. We must know what monists think, recognizing it as Ahriman science, the product of backward angels infiltrating human minds. Knowledge of the truth and reality is essential for navigating these complex dynamics. In this space, we can express things openly, using the appropriate terms like Ahrimanic powers, as we take these matters seriously. However, it's important to acknowledge that communicating in this manner with individuals outside our circle may prove challenging, given their lack of preparation. This forms one of the barriers separating us from others. Nonetheless, there exist ways to convey the truth even to those uninitiated. Establishing places where the truth can be honestly and straightforwardly presented is crucial. Such spaces are essential not only for our understanding, but also for the possibility of influencing conventional science beyond these walls. It's worth noting that individuals connected to spiritual science often encounter significant difficulties in building bridges to the realm of Ahrimanic science. I've encountered individuals well-versed in specific fields of Ahrimanic science, such as physiologists or biologists, who have also connected with our spiritual research. Encouraging them to reconsider their respective fields in the light of the spirit, even if not using our specific terminology, could yield profound results. The same goes for Orientalists who, while adhering to anthroposophy, may struggle to bridge the gap with their academic pursuits. Building these bridges is a pressing need in our time. The Ahrimanic powers thrive when people believe that conventional science offers an accurate portrayal of the world. However, when individuals engage with spiritual science and adopt the inner attitude that arises from it, the Ahrimanic powers find less fertile ground. Spiritual science encompasses the entire human being, transforming one's perspective, will impulses, and relationship with the world. Initiates have consistently asserted that individuals filled with spiritual wisdom are formidable adversaries for the Ahrimanic powers, akin to great horrors of darkness and a consuming fire. Ahrimanic angels find solace in heads filled with Ahrimanic science, while heads imbued with spiritual wisdom act as a consuming fire, radiating terror and dispelling the harmful Ahrimanic influence. Embracing spiritual wisdom allows us to navigate the world with a transformative perspective, establishing the right relationship with Ahrimanic powers and contributing to the creation of a place where the consuming fire of sacrifice can radiate for the world's salvation. Let these ideas and feelings permeate your being, and you will awaken to perceive the unfolding events in the world. The 18th century witnessed the final vestiges of old atavistic science fading away. Followers of Saint Martin, the unknown philosopher who studied under Jacob Boehme, retained remnants of atavistic wisdom and foresaw the emergence of knowledge in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, rooted in the same sources as certain human diseases, discussed in a previous lecture, the 14th of October. This foresight predicted that people's views would be grounded in falsehood and their inner feelings would stem from selfishness. Allow your eyes to become perceptive in the light of the inner feelings discussed today. See what is alive and active in the present time, even if it causes your heart some discomfort. Such clear perception, albeit painful, is essential for bearing good fruit in the midst of the chaos humanity currently faces. In the unfolding future, a paramount aspect must be the development of a science of education. One of the foundational principles in this realm, often neglected today, is the recognition that more crucial than consciously imparted knowledge is what unconsciously enters the souls of children during their education. As discussed in a recent public lecture, memory develops in the subconscious, running parallel to our conscious inner life. This understanding is particularly significant in education. Educators should not only provide children with things they can comprehend, but also introduce ideas that mysteriously enter their souls, ideas that will resurface later in life. As we approach an era where people increasingly need memories of their youth throughout their lives, education must systematically cater to this need. It becomes detrimental if individuals, looking back on their school days, find them unfulfilling or devoid of pleasant memories. On the contrary, a well-rounded education should offer a source to which they can repeatedly return, discovering new insights and joys each time, ensuring a lifelong connection with the wealth of knowledge acquired during their formative years. Reflecting on this, you will recognize that profound principles must serve as the future compass for life, diverging significantly from the current notions of what is deemed right. It would be beneficial for humanity if many did not sleep through the harsh lessons of the present time, but instead used them to truly grasp the idea that a considerable transformation is imperative. In recent times, people have become excessively complacent, hindering them from fully comprehending this idea in its entirety, and most importantly, from embracing its full intensity. And that's a wrap for today's learning journey. Thank you so much for joining us and experiencing all the excitement. If you had as much fun as we did, don't forget to give that like button a big thumbs up and subscribe.